Antiques on York in Rockville, Indiana, 100 West York Street, celebrating our 10th year in business.
I've got 6:31. I'll go ahead and call the town council meeting to order.
Confined in space here.
I did. Jan and I set it up, and I said, there's only going to be 3 of us. We can get by with one table. So I thought about trading you and putting you over here.
But that's okay. Well, this time I just had a whole bunch of papers.
Yeah.
Those clips on that. I'll show you these. Something that Susan brought to us out of John's office. Just look old.
They are.
I was going to say.
What was the oldest one? 1905.
Wow.
Yeah. Maps of the town. Okay, claims for this evening for the town was $13,198.39, and claims for the water department was $5,485.75. I'm going to save the ordinances for the new business.
Okay.
Is there anything under old other than?
That's new. You had that right.
Yes.
That's new business. That's new business. I think that's all I got.
Okay.
You saw that today?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about
Yeah,
that
that's
too.
new. So yeah, everything else is
Okay. Under old business, Brian Nelson has finished the cleanup at the pump house.
Yes, that was quick.
Yes, it was. And he also cleaned up the back storage building, well, actually 3 bays back there that he took
Did
care
he?
of. Yes.
Okay, good.
And got all of that taken care of. The only thing left really for that pump house is to talk to UMAC about the final disconnect from the main and completely burying everything there. They may have to grout that. I assume they have to grout that well, don't they? It's a-
Yeah, if they're not gonna use it, it's gotta be
Okay.
permanently sealed.
Yes.
closed.
Okay, so that's something I'll talk to Ronnie about. Do you know much about the grouting process on it? Is it a,
Now, in the past, I'd call, well driller and they'd do it, so I
Yeah.
really don't know.
okay,
Portman's one we used to use.
okay. Well, it's something we might as well get taken care of, right? And we still have not an open well, but a capped well up between the old firehouse and the new firehouse. There was a well there that wasn't grouted in. So I'd like to get both of those taken care of at the same time. We'll never go back to pumping those because they just didn't produce enough. That's all I have on old business. Do you have any, Darla, that you can think of?
Not
The,
really.
the discussion on ordinances I'll cover on the
Okay.
new
And
business.
that'll just be basically, because we already got the sign cleaned up at the park. I had that one on here and that was done.
Okay.
So,
Under new business, we kind of opened the door on this last meeting when we talked about Washington Township helping us out and allocating funds for the park. And so, been thinking about that, and I think both you and Dale had input on that the last meeting. The concession stand building has some wear there on the outside, some rot on a couple of places. So what I would like to do is get a quote, maybe to put steel on there and just have that covered.
covered.
And that way it wouldn't have any maintenance at all to it. So I plan on getting that and bringing that to one of the meetings coming up. Also talking with Nick Sauter, a couple of things they would like for us to consider. One was the bleachers that we have
Right.
talked about, and I think we need to get a little more serious about that within the next 30 days if we're going to do that, because ordering those would take a little bit of time. But the other thing is the benches inside the dugouts. They're in pretty rough shape. I thought maybe we might get Brian Nelson to look at those,
yeah.
and he might be able to redo or repair or fix those and paint those.
I think that would be good,
Okay,
because those wouldn't be much, and he'd be at it pretty quick.
yes. And he has taken care of the wood bleachers up there before. So anyway, I will try to get with a couple of people and see about quotes on that building and
Okay.
see what they recommend. We have 3 ordinances that Nick presented to us, and we've had discussion on these. Are these the same?
Yeah, or 2 different ones.
Okay. And then there should be one,
He's got 2.
there was another one he sent later.
Oh, I only saw the 2 that
I
he
don't
sent
think
me.
it was on the easement on the south side of the park.
Oh, I didn't see that, sorry.
I printed it out and I think I left it over there. on the
Oh, because I got his one earlier when I was still
Yeah.
over there before I left.
Okay.
And I didn't get back on
I
that.
have it here on my phone from his email. Okay, these are the two ordinances we had some discussion about. And we put things on hold until he made those changes.
Right.
Donna. The first one is dealing with the water utility and an ordinance prohibiting people from accessing the meter pit, tampering with the meter pit, tampering with the fire hydrants, etc.
Right.
Nick informed me that it already is a criminal offense to do damage within that meter pit. And so that may be something that Brady is going to file on one particular instance that we've had. But he put together this ordinance, and I would like to read that, and then we'll make a decision if you want to adopt that this evening.
Okay. Yeah, because will it cover, or is that going to be on something else where you can tap into somebody else's?
It is in here.
Okay. That's,
Let's see, which side is that on?
It's on Article 1.
On which one?
On the one you got, the water one.
Okay.
Well, wait a minute. Maybe it's on.
Forget which one I read that on. I guess we'll get to it.
yeah.
That's
But
on-
yes, it has been,
Okay.
It's on Article 2, right here on the water one.
okay. Whereas it's come to the attention of the town of Marshall, Indiana, that certain behaviors occurring within the town of Marshall, Indiana are jeopardizing the safety of the town water utility systems and creating the possibility of damage to said water system. And whereas the town council has determined that prohibition of said actions is in the best interest of the town water utility and town residents. Now therefore be it ordained by the town council of the town of Marshall, Indiana, as follows. Purpose. The purpose of this ordinance is to prohibit tampering with the water system or unlawful use of water services. It shall be unlawful for any person other than employees of the water utility of the town, while acting within the scope of their employment, or any other person or persons specifically authorized by the water utility, to block any water usage from being read, or to open a meter pit lid, enter a meter pit, or in any manner tamper with a water meter, attempting to heat a meter pit or tamper with a fire hydrant. The water or service furnished by the town of Marshall water utility is for the use of the utility customers on their own premises. The customer shall not resell any water service or permit adjacent property owners to utilize their water service in lieu of obtaining water service from the town utility in their own name. Any person who violates this ordinance shall be fined a sum not to exceed $2,500. A separate offense shall be committed for each day of the violation. Tampering with the town water utility may result in criminal charges as well as cancellation of future water utility services. In addition to the penalty provided by Article 3 above, the town shall be entitled to an injunction enjoining any further violation of this ordinance. Attorney fees. Any person found by a court to have violated this ordinance shall pay costs and reasonable attorney fees incurred by the town as a result of the town's enforcement of this ordinance. Questions at all?
No, that pretty well.
Pretty well
seems
does
like
it?
Does it. Covers it all, I think.
Would you want to make a motion that we go ahead and adopt this ordinance this evening? Nick said we could go ahead and do that even though Dale wasn't going to be here.
Okay, yeah, I'll go ahead and make a motion that we go ahead and adopt that
Okay.
ordinance.
And I will second that. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? You will need to number this one.
It's one.
It's going to be 1.
That's the first one of the year. And then you just sign this one too. That will, the one will be in the town board minutes and the other will be in the book.
And Nick also pointed out that it is a criminal offense in the state of Indiana to tamper, cause damage within that pit. So,
That's what I thought.
yeah, there could be criminal charges that would also follow up with that. Okay, I've got that signed, but I didn't fill in the date on that one.
Okay. Today is the 6th, isn't it?
Yes. Ordinance number 2024-2. Ordinance prohibiting temporary occupancy of mobile dwelling units in the town of Marshall. Be it ordained by the town council of the town of Marshall, Indiana, that upon passage of this ordinance, due publication of this ordinance is required by IC Code 5-3-1, that the town council of Marshall, Indiana has the power to regulate the rules of law governing within the town limits, so long as not specifically prohibited by the Indiana Constitution or statute, or said powers is specifically vested in another entity. The Town Council of Marshall, Indiana has determined that a need exists for an ordinance codifying the rules and regulations governing the use of mobile dwellings, campers, or other forms of temporary housing in the town of Marshall, Indiana. Definitions. For the purpose of this ordinance, the following definitions apply unless the context clearly indicates or requires a different meaning. Mobile dwelling unit. It's a temporary living quarters such as house trailers, truck bodies, tents, bus bodies, shacks, campers, yard barns, RVs, and improvised trailers which may be moved by tractor, truck, or automobile, or those carried, transported, or towed from one place to another without the use of regular house moving equipment. For use for temporary living quarters includes the acts of sleeping, preparation of meals, or any sanitary measures such as bathing, dishwashing, or laundering clothing, or any natural or performed operation that produces waste material objectionable from a nuisance standpoint. No person shall occupy a mobile dwelling unit which has been placed on any lot, street, or in the space within the corporate limits of the town for the purpose of using the same as temporary or permanent living quarters, except those in campsites or campgrounds approved and licensed as a campsite by the State Board of Health. Individuals who have applied for and received temporary approval in writing for an exemption from the town council under emergency or exceptional circumstances. I think we gave an example of that. Notice to vacate failure. Any peace officer of the town or any representative of the State Board of Health or any state police officer shall have the right to issue an order requiring violators of this chapter to remove mobile dwelling units from unlicensed premises within 48 hours. Non-interference with the State Board of Health powers. No provisions in this ordinance shall interfere with the right of the State Board of Health to revoke any license for failure to comply with the provisions or other applicable laws. Any violation of this ordinance shall, upon conviction, be punished by a fine not less than $25 and not more than $50 per day. No notice shall be required for those persons violating this ordinance after the first offense, and each day's violation shall constitute a separate offense. Any person found by a court to have violated this ordinance shall pay costs and reasonable attorney fees incurred by the town as a result of the town's enforcement of this ordinance. This ordinance shall become effective upon passage and legal publication as required by IC Code 5-3-1. Questions?
No.
Kathy, does that cover everything you remember in our notes talking about?
Yeah.
That's what I thought it pretty well did.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
I have a motion to go ahead and pass that ordinance tonight.
Okay, that would be ordinance 2024-2. I will second that. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Make sure, when I send this one back, I'll show you sign here too, because this is due the same day.
Gotcha. we will need to make sure we get Brady copies of these
Yeah.
at some point.
Do the same on those.
Okay.
Just kind of hidden there.
Yeah, it works.
Yeah, let's sign it.
I'd like to go ahead and read for the purpose of discussion the ordinance on the easement at the park
Okay.
that we talked about. And I'll just briefly go through this, since we're not going to be adopting it this evening. The ordinance that is an egress access easement.
Right,
And what this allows us to do, and I have talked to the property owner, is to use his field access, which is a lane, for the purpose of the town park whenever needed, without blocking that or prohibiting him. And we will probably need to make some improvements on that.
get some gravel or something kind of right through there, so.
Yes, if we add that parking lot to the east end, southeast end of the park, we would need that. That is a real issue for the park, especially during large gatherings at the church, such as the funeral visitation on the same night as a ball game. There was just nowhere for people to go. And then on any night that there's a ball game, there's just not a lot of room up there for people to park, and they're parking, wherever they can. This would allow us to at least work towards making that parking lot a little better, a little more access for them. So he has got everything here listed as far as the description of said property. As I said, I talked to the property owner. He has no problem doing this. He did not want to sell any part of it because it gives him access to a field. Any other questions, anything you guys can think of on that?
Not that I can think of offhand. Because we have to have, like, when they do have, or we have to tape that off, or they have to tape it off when they're end up parking there, so people don't try to park on the grass? That property owner?
I don't know. Yeah,
Because you know how people will just start,
yeah, right. That'll be,
or a sign to say, no parking on the grass,
could
some
be,
kind of a thing that we might need to
Yeah.
put up there so people know
right.
it's just a alley, so that way we don't offend the other owner.
That's a good point. We definitely don't want to do that. We don't
No,
want
we don't.
our problem to leak over onto that property. So we're at a point now we can have that discussion. Dale will be back, hopefully next meeting, and if we feel comfortable, we can go ahead and,
And maybe look and see what it costs to get some kind of a signage or something to put up.
right. Yeah, I don't think fencing is going to be the right avenue there.
No, we don't want to put any more fencing, but just something to just kind of
Yeah.
warning.
And I don't think there's enough room between the playground fence and the south side of that
Where the
lane, because they would block it or have to go onto the neighbor's property. Okay. So he has that prepared for us, and if you want to read this, that's fine, but it's mainly,
I was say it's pretty well what you
Yeah.
read. Yeah, that's just the total description of
Of the
the property lines, kind of.
Right.
It is.
So I did want to bring that up. He did put that and prepare that for us like we asked for. The next thing I have, as you're aware of, we had an issue with the number one pump. The tower actually went dry because our backup power supply failed. It never sent a signal to the pump house for pump 2 to come on. So pump 1 was out of commission, it had a failure. There was no signal, so pump 2 never came on. Because of the power outage at the tower, the battery backup, because it failed, the red signal light that showed that we had either a low or high amount of water in the tower couldn't activate. So I worked with Wessler, their engineer that takes care of that kind of telemetry, and his solution is something called I'm the wrong one here. Signal Fire. Well, thank you. That's what I was looking at. A product called, a company called Signal Fire. What it is basically an alarm system that would send message out to phones. And it works just like a texting or a voice message to your phone, and we can have as many phones as we need to have a contact. In its simplest forms, it's basically so we don't have what happened happen again, so that nobody knew that we were out of water until we were out of water. It doesn't allow for you to pick up your phone and hit pump 2 and turn it on. That's not part of what it does, but it gives us a little more reliability. Also, I talked to the engineer about whether we could have it tell us the levels of water in the tower. So we would know if we were at 118 feet or if we were at 60 feet, which it should never get to there. We would leave the light signaling piece there, knowing that that battery backup would probably need to be replaced in 5 or 6 years. It's not a real expensive piece. I went to Walmart and got it. That's where their engineer told me to go.
Okay.
And so we're up and in good shape there. But this gives us that bit of comfort knowing that, you know, we're going to be notified if we have a water outage, water problem.
Yeah, because he notices the red light. I mean, you're not up there, or, I mean, if it happens in the middle of the night and something drastic, I mean, nobody's,
Yeah.
Which is red, that happens in the middle of the night, you're gonna have time. This just was over, what, 4 or 5 day time span is what the
Yeah.
problem was.
but I mean, there's a chance it's not as noticeable. Like if it came to your phone, you're gonna notice.
Yes. Yeah. We have 4 to 5 days worth of water up there.
Right.
So we know that we were without any pumping capacity for 4 to 5 days to get to that point because we didn't have a huge leak of it. We weren't using.
And I had 2 days of no reading, and I didn't think anything about it. Because, you know, you go through that, and then I hadn't read it a couple days. So,
Now, all of this is somewhat a result of where we were at with pump 1 failure. And we've had pump 1 failure for how long?
This year,
Off and on. The reason that was not replaced was that's a single phase motor, and Jim from the company that repairs it said, I can't get you a motor. I can't find that motor right now. Plus, the cost of that single phase motor was very expensive. And so Tom and I, we've turned that and acknowledged that failure before and either switched to pump 2 or acknowledged it and got pump 1 running again. The purpose of the 2 pumps or the 2 motors is that pump 1 will run a while and then it will switch over to pump 2 and both of them will wear evenly. But it just didn't do that because it didn't have any signal to tell it to do that. So that's the purpose of the Signal Fire. What I know about the cost of that is the device cost is $1,130 plus installation of that, and they said it would probably take them between a day and 2 days to install all of that. It works through like a cell phone signal from my understanding, and the cost of that is based on a 2-year payment of $350 every 2-year period. That would cover that.
Okay.
So this is a simplistic way. The guy that was working on our tower and our pumps the day that things went out, Jim is the guy's name, he also does work for some towns in southern Indiana, and he was showing me a different way of doing this, in that on his cell phone or little tablet, he can control that, all the pumps. He can do all the controls from that. And I thought, well, that's pretty unique, you know, that technology. And I said, how much is that going to cost for Marshall? He said, I would expect to be close to $20,000 for that control. Well, I about died when I heard $20,000, but.
With the scare of cybersecurity issues too, I don't know if you'd want to.
Oh, that's what I was already thinking, cybersecurity. I'm like, okay. Somebody can hack into it.
So I think this is a good solution. What I wanted to bring up tonight is, you know, if you're in favor of that, great, but things that you would like to see, especially, because I asked this gentleman, I said, can you have it tell us at the end of any given day the gallons pumped? Because right now you use the handheld, and a lot of times I'll have to go out there. And he said, yes, I think I can get it to do that also, but are there other things you'd like to see?
That's mainly all I have to do out there.
Okay.
No, there's stuff
I was
Tom
going to
has
say,
to
Tom,
do
you
that-
think of anything?
Yeah, that, you're in great shape.
Yeah,
Yeah. You could, I mean, he said we can just put however many phone numbers and it'll just notify you. It'll notify all of us at once that are on that list.
Be a good way to do it.
And that's what I thought. Yeah.
What about updates and stuff like that? Because the software would need updated periodically. I mean, there's always
Yeah.
like a bug or a glitch or something with software. Is that,
Almost-
would that pricing take care of all
I
that?
think that $350
That's just,
is a, yeah.
okay.
and what was the $350? Because the price of the,
The price of the unit is
so
$1,130.
it was a subscription, so to speak?
Yes.
Okay,
They have used this, he said it's better than a lot of higher price systems. He said we are putting them on a lot of their town projects because it is such a reliable system. It's not sophisticated like the $20,000 one.
Right.
But if you don't need it, why pay that much? So I think we need to do that. When I got a call at 4 o'clock in the morning and we had absolutely no water in town, and I'm thinking we've busted some large main somewhere.
lucky enough she found it before somebody else got up and got going. And
Yes. And then luckily we found the failure, and I got it kicked over to pump
And you
2, and
said-
within minutes you had pressure.
This would end up and this will also end up and let us know when one of those pumps fail, right?
I don't know.
Doesn't sound like it unless there's some way to tie that in there.
Yeah.
I mean, that would
Because
be,
your signal you're getting will be from the tower.
Right. It interfaces with the panel there on the tower. So I told him we would have questions and I would get back to him, so that would be one whether it would tell us we had a failure.
because if it's gonna be able to tell you how many gallons is out there in that tank.
But that's not gonna tell me, that's gonna tell you how many gallons is in the tank, not how many gallons you're pumping from out there.
Yeah, that's what I asked him.
But he's out there.
Out there,
They'll
Out
be able to
there.
read out there, so if it's reading out there,
There.
I'll be able to read at the pump, well,
Great.
See, our screen there at the tower tells you, it even tells you pump 1 is in failure or pump 2 is in failure, if it's running or not running.
So it should be able to, if it's
So it
telling
might
you
be
that
able
at that
to.
screen, it should be able, it's interfaced, it'll be able to,
Yeah.
and it will tell you. So need to see if that'll be able to be flagged on that,
Okay.
because that would be a heads up.
Nice.
Yeah, we've only had that problem with pump one, and we knew early on we had a problem with that motor having a flat spot on the armature there, and it wouldn't start. And Jim said that's true because he said your motor is going to stop at the same place every time, and it develops that flat spot on that motor. I never understood why it would stop at the same spot on that motor, but I don't know.
So it still leaves the question, what are we going to do with number one?
Okay, I'll come up with that solution. I have that too.
That's next.
So if you are in favor of this as I am. and-
I'm in favor of that. I just like to have a little more information so that way we know we
Okay.
can get kind of like, I mean, I'm in favor of that. I mean, because it's better than what we had and it's more in our price range than what we're gonna find.
Yes. If you would like to Google Signal Fire, or Tom, and you can take a look at it. I've been on their website and what they offer with that. It seems like a pretty seamless
Yeah.
thing to have.
Like I said, if he can end up and tweak it, and maybe it does tell us about pump failures. If
Could
the
be.
pump failed.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything you can think of?
No, great.
Okay.
And Tommy, more than happy to have his phone on, right?
Yeah, your phone number's going in there. Did you know that?
You took that
Is
earlier,
that
didn't
the
you?
pricing on that?
Yeah, you didn't get a phone call at 4 o'clock that morning, did you?
No.
I'm thinking, why am I getting a phone call at 4 o'clock in the morning? I thought it was a missed dial because he didn't hang up so quick.
Yeah, we drove the whole town and there was no water leak, and I'm thinking, it has to be the pump house. That's the only place it can be, to have an empty tower. Yeah. So, that brings us to your question about what do we do about pump one. I had Jim come look at all of that, and I asked for a quote to replace pump one motor so that, which is what we wanted to do a year and a half ago. He gave me a quote. Number one option was to replace pump one motor with a Baldor brand single phase motor. It's a 7.5 horse motor. Talking to the engineers at Westler, at 7.5 horsepower is the breaking point, whether you go 3-phase or you go single phase. The motors are tremendously more expensive than a 3-phase, and the cost to run them is more than a 3-phase motor. So he also gave me a cost on a 3-phase, so replacing the motor with a 3-phase motor and a VFD, which is a variable frequency drive, which converts that, single phase to 3-phase to make that motor work. He will do either option for a price of $5,850.44. Now, I followed up with the Westler engineer on pumps. I can't think of what his name is. I don't see it on this. But he said at 7.5 horse motors, we tend to lean into the 3-phase for a lot of reasons. But he said normally your 3-phase conversion and your 3-phase, the labor to put that in, makes it more expensive than the single.
That's what I was wondering, because if you're up in
So,
the outage on it like that.
Yeah. So I clarified with Jim on this $5,850.44. I said, are you telling me that we can go either option for the same price? And he said, yes, I can get you the 3-phase motor and the conversion, do all of the labor for the same price that a single phase. The engineer at Westler said, that's a no-brainer. You go with the 3-phase.
But the only question is, if you go with, what's your second pump? Is your second pump just
It's a single phase.
And they can run together?
Yeah.
One can kick off and go over to the
Yeah.
other and not be a problem?
One will have the number one will have that variable frequency drive
And that'll end up and allow it to work back and forth between the two?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so down the road,
probably do it on number two.
we would do it on number two.
Okay.
The other option was to bring 3-phase into the building and not have the variable frequency drive. And I asked about that. What I was told was if you run 3-phase, the power company charges you whatever your peak amount used for the whole year. So if on January 2nd, those pumps run 24 hours straight, and you used a tremendous amount of electricity, that's your electric rate for 12 months. I think Dale was the one that told me that it worked that way. So for us, pumping maybe 3.5 hours a day, they said it's just not worth it. You don't want to pay that extra to have that RMC put three-phase in that building and switch everything over, and then you're going to be paying a lot more.
Right.
Jim
Well,
said we should see a reduction in our electric costs, but by only running 3 or 4 hours a day, we're not going to see a huge amount.
Well, yeah, I mean, like you said, it's the same price regardless. I would rather go with the three-phase.
Okay. Well, I talked to Dale.
And then that way you can advance later on when the other pump goes, and then we might decide we'd go ahead and put the three-phase. I mean, things
Yeah.
could change.
Yeah.
And wire it for total three-phase, but
So
yeah,
Dale was very much in favor of the three-phase, so
yeah.
I didn't talk to Tom. Your thoughts, Tom? You
I
have?
think it's a great way to do it, yeah.
Okay.
Do we need to make a motion or just go ahead? And,
I think it just falls under that. We could make a motion if
do we need to make
you
a
want to make a
motion?
motion for any reason on that, since it's,
Because we know we need a pump.
And it's just a board approved, that we're gonna do agreement.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're
it's just a
agreeing.
maintenance part on the water department, and
Yeah,
I
okay.
think we'll leave it at that. Okay. I will get a hold of Jim and tell him to get things ordered and put in.
Okay.
And I will get a hold of this Brian, excuse me,
You want to keep a copy of this for any reason?
please.
Okay.
I'll get a hold of Brian at Westler and Marco. The day we were out without water, Westler sent a guy, Marco, over from Carmel to see if he could get everything figured out. He's the one who figured it all out. So I thought, man, that's comforting to
nice.
get somebody right there
Yeah.
within an hour or two to know why it failed. Okay, so we've got something down the road to discuss then on the signal fire. Anything else that you can think of in new business, Darla?
Security cameras, did you get in, did you meet that?
Oh, yeah.
We did, that's right. Brady was gonna take care of that tonight. We met with a guy on security cameras for the town. He came back with a quote, was over $5,000. So we decided to back off and begin looking a little deeper at those costs. So we've got some ideas on that. Brady is working with some others on that, so I'll just leave that in his lap to follow through and come up with a viable solution on that. Again, cameras on the tower would be pretty important because of terrorism. Kathy, what do you have for us?
Well, Brian, I don't know if he told you, he gave a quote now to organize things since he took me through the other building. Have you been through it?
Mm-hmm.
Unless it looks really nice.
Yeah.
Then to organize, trying to get everything out of our building over there that needs to be, that we can set up, and we can put all the Christmas decorations over that one spot, since we've got things cleaned out, and you can have all the Christmas stuff together, you can have all the fall stuff together.
Right.
You get all those signs over there, then we can get the shelving units over there, so we get the water stuff, and get Jason get that all cleaned up. But he submitted this for $150 to work in my building, get rid of the trash that's in there and everything.
Yeah, he did get rid of
That
those
needs to be-
desks.
yeah, he did take
and
those
other things.
Okay, you
Yes.
did get those, that's
Yeah.
good.
And then he said there's a good possibility too, that we could also use some of those shelving and get those files that's in my office of the old years and get them out there.
I was wondering about that, to be able to get, because
And I
I
can
seen you
just
had
keep
some,
the last
because it
year or
looked like
two
you
in there.
probably had some totes, maybe it had stuff in, I don't know.
Yeah.
There was some
Well, there's things in there with totes, there's things from the
what I
original
figured.
sewer project that I have set in there that came back from our attorney at that time. After he passed away, his wife brought all that to us, and I wasn't gonna throw it away. I would like to first start with UMAC, because they came in and organized that on those shelves,
On the water stuff.
on the water stuff, and to find out what's our best plan of attack there. I think those blue water pipes should go out to that back building. There's no reason for it to be in there.
Right.
The signage could go, the signposts and so forth can go back there.
There's some rings in there on the floor that could probably go, meter rings.
Yeah,
As long as we keep the meters and that type of stuff for Jason, but he needs to go through and clean up a bunch of stuff that needs to be fixed.
right, and I think that's where we're at before. I want Brian to make those determinations. I would like for Jason and UMAC and,
And that's what I told him, that we
Yeah.
needed Jason especially get in there, and I didn't think about UMAC coming
Yeah.
in.
and there's some shelving in there we can make use of, and
Yeah,
I don't think it's gonna take a whole lot to make that organized and make room to put vehicle in there at some point.
so,
Okay.
because it's pretty empty now in that respect, that's,
Yeah.
yeah, so.
The Christmas ornaments,
They're all in totes, so they could all go over there, since there's cement floor, and,
Oh, yeah, there's nothing.
yeah, they're all in nice totes, and all in that one area is easy to get to.
yeah,
That way everything's together and gets put back together in one location, and,
yeah, the tractor's in there, and that building is secure now, out back,
Okay, the tractor got moved over there?
Yeah.
Oh, that, okay, yeah.
so.
Yeah, I mean, all that stuff just needs a corner to kind of, like you said, if there's shelves
Well-
or whatever we could do, but that's kind of, yeah, because I agree, it doesn't all need to be in there. That
At the
needs to
front
be-
of that building, there is some old shelving that came out of the original firehouse bay where her office is before we remodeled that. Those probably could be dismantled, and that would help. And then there's a generator, a PTO generator that actually can hook up to this building in a power outage. We need to find out how good it is, because I don't know if it's, I don't know when it was spun last, but that was back when John Rice was fire chief, so that takes it back 40 years maybe.
Might be locked up.
Yeah,
It might be.
well, that's where it was moved to where it's at now, beside her office, just because there's heat and all in there, but I don't know.
But I
I
thought
don't
we
know
had
if
to
it's,
start those periodically, just to keep them.
I think so. But the long-term solution is a generator at the firehouse, because that firehouse was designed as a shelter. And the thing that we couldn't afford as a fire department was a generator to get that up and running. And so that would be the best. If it needs to be a Red Cross shelter or whatever, it would just take a generator. We have gas there, so it would run on gas, natural, which is what we have out at the pump. No, we have LP out there on the backup generator.
okay.
Okay, what else?
Let's see here. I'll go ahead and, here's our daily readings. Which are still running a little high, but we had 4 or 5 water leaks with the frozen, the cold weather, and so,
Yeah, but January 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, and 14th was nice because we didn't pump anything.
it's like, hey.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, but the 15th, you pumped 85,000 gallons.
That wasn't so good, and then it kind of,
Yeah, it is up a little bit.
so. But I don't know how many people had their water running, dripping, that, so that makes a difference too, so. Should put these in. This is just overall information for the year for you guys. I'll keep one of these and get to Dale next week.
Thank you.
This is hours on what? Just overall for the year that you can see on what we did, like hours that Brady worked and what we paid, hours I worked, and Jason. So just so you can kind of see what's going on, you guys can, if you have any questions or anything, but that's just information for you guys. And I'll give this to Dale next time, so you can have a copy.
Okay. Thank you, Kathy.
Questions or anything?
Oh, this is nice, thank you.
And then I put that with all of my paperwork, so if we ever get audited, it's right there too.
Right.
So, and then,
Is this on Jason, Kenny, Jason together?
no, that's just Jason. Kenny wasn't done yet.
Yeah, and there's a body of thought there that with paying Jason as we are now, we may or may not want to do that down the road. We may want to just a flat fee, and here's what we'll pay you to do. I don't know if that simplifies your bookkeeping.
It doesn't, I mean, I just keep track, and that way I know who I've got to charge, like for a customer, and.
Yeah, okay.
So. And
Good.
who we shut off and who we haven't, and then I've been busy working on our year end that's going in, it's pretty much all done. Here, that's that one dollar, here's yours. And this is our overall, the first page is overall that we spent for Town of Marshall, for the income is on the left-hand side, everything broke down where it all comes from. And the right-hand side is all of our expenses for the town, which looks like we went over budget, over our money, but the auditor's office didn't get our property taxes and stuff in by the year end, so that came in the first of the year. So that's why it looks like we're short.
How does that affect us in 2024? Or just show up?
It's just gonna show that I have to mark on my paperwork that when I get audited, that the money did not show up, looking if we had the money to cover it.
Yeah.
And so then I have to make notations everywhere so that when that time comes, it's just money that's already basically spent because we used it. So that is going to show next year, we're going to show over, but that's why I'll have to put on there for 2024 the same thing.
How is the online water bill
It's
working?
going pretty good.
I see the
Yeah.
the emails come in, and it looks like there's a number of people.
Right, there's a number of people that we're getting, I'm gonna say there's 10 to 15 every month, it kind of gives or takes. So,
Okay.
so yeah, and I think over time,
I do too.
so. And then the second page is for the water. But, and on our, our motor vehicle, this is the last year that we have on that note, so that'll be out of the way.
Excellent.
So that'll help. So, but I've got pretty much everything input, and it's not showing me any errors right now, so I don't think there'll be any.
Yeah, that motor vehicle, depending on what we can acquire, we could always look at that community crossing down the road for a couple of streets here in town.
So, we just have to get that fund bill back up. So,
Yes.
so then, to follow up with that then, the budget, I've gone through and kind of then summarized it. And this is just for the general fund. On the left-hand side is what we budgeted,
Right.
put that in there, and the right-hand side is what we actually spent. So,
So we didn't do too bad. Okay.
no, considering we raised our rental on our hydrants, that was, went up. And I think there's something else, our electricity has gone up a little bit, but, I still stayed under, but it had gone up. And I try to budget a little high when I'm doing it, just to be on
You
the
always want
safe
to do
side.
that to be on the safe side.
So, and I'm not, professional
Pretty good.
services we had a little bit more, and I forget what that was. But, again, I'll give Dale. And then on with all the other funds that's, motor vehicle, rainy day, local roads and streets. So, I think we're staying pretty good there too.
Yeah, I'll be curious to find out what the streets are gonna look like here in another 30 days
Yeah.
after the winter repair.
I was thinking the same thing when you mean talking about streets, like,
Yeah. Thank you, that's good.
Okay, so then that brings me to year end.
so Kathy, you said this stuff here on the budget and stuff, you'll be getting that in the paper here before long, everything's.
That won't be, it comes
Right.
from Gateway.
Right,
It'll be
okay.
sometime later at the end of the
Yeah,
month,
no.
whenever I get the Gateway all done. It gives you the option to print one,
Yeah,
so I'll print it out once it gets all done. I've got to upload like my bond, and I've got to put other information in there that I haven't got that far yet. But
Do you have a budget for the park, or does it come out of
the
general?
park isn't actually budgeted.
Okay,
The park and that Marshall Forever Fund, those aren't actually, they're
yeah,
not actually budgeted through the, so, but I've started one for this year.
okay.
It'll have a separate fund line,
So you just need initial on that?
yes. And then there's the water.
I need to ask, I guess maybe Westler, on the target date for tank repainting. Do you know how often they usually will repaint a water tower?
As little as possible.
Yeah, I know the price is
Yeah.
enormous, but we need to shoot it for a target date so that we have funds for that.
no, because we ended up and just did that, when was it last, they came and did the inspection for warranty and all that. Is that,
That was the 5-year anniversary on the tower. What?
yeah,
Yeah, because the light on the tower went out 5 years in 1 month, and it had a 5-year warranty. Can you believe that? And they would not stand behind it in any way. Even though the light was $1,000, and $1,000 to have somebody climb the tower to put the light in.
And here's January's. Got back at the beginning. adjustments that's been done this far.
So we did have some leaks, didn't we?
Yeah. One person had 30,000 gallons, so I'm waiting for him to screen. One person had 20,000 gallons. The other two, they didn't have much.
The one over on the corner, is it off still?
Yes.
Okay. Because it's a leak is one of the reasons.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then through last month's meeting. Pass that down to Darby. Did you and Dale supposed to do that?
He's gonna be gone a week or so. Yeah,
I got his. Yeah, Tom's.
okay. Anything else?
That's all I have.
Tom?
Has the fire department decided what they're gonna do with that backflow preventer?
No. The reason being, Kenny contacted the gentleman's boss, and she said he was clearly wrong in what he told us to do. So we jumped through hoops because the guy was,
Right.
yeah. So she said she wanted to come and take a look at it. How many months ago has that been? 6 months ago? And she's not made any effort whatsoever to do that. He asked for that in writing, that we could remove that. But we've not gotten anything yet from that. And I know he's called more than once
Okay.
to try to get that. So I'm not sure what to do.
So in the notes that I did the other day that the guy that was our inspector has now gotten a promotion and he's moved on, so have somebody new when they do their sanitary
He
search.
did such a fine job with us, they promoted him. Wow. Okay,
And there's more information on our lead line
okay, good.
inventory. Hearing some discussion among some other utilities that have started gathering information. They've been sending out postcards or letters to all their customers, asking them some of the questions that will be needed to fill out.
Right,
Because everything, because it's EPA, everything's gonna be verified, and you gotta, have something to stand on. And a lot of the issues that one utility is coming up with is where they hook up from the distribution line into the house, there's a gooseneck or pigtail, whatever you wanna call it, that is lead. And that's where most of the
Right.
issues are coming from. I'm not sure how we're set up here in Marshall, how we're set up there, but
That's on the customer side.
well, it's actually on the utility side.
Okay, you're going from the main into
You
the,
know, from coming off the main, how
Yeah.
that's attached.
okay,
And what they're saying is, basically, they're looking for a list, basically a address or some way where this is at, whether it's got lead line, whether it's got a galvanized line that needs to be replaced, which
right,
is determined as any galvanized line which is downstream of a lead line, whether there's no lead involved at all or an unknown. You don't have the information figured out.
yeah,
And supposedly EPA has allotted $18 million, so $1 billion for, and that's, you know, countrywide, so it's gonna dribble here and there. And also the thought right now is if a customer has lead line in the house, it's kind of up to the utility to get it replaced. And then use that funding from EPA to pay for it.
well, that's gonna cause some legal issues,
Well, what they're saying then too is if that customer does not want it, get that in writing and just, you know, on your sheet, it'll say lead line and why it hasn't been
okay.
done.
Would a water test at the tap in that house give us the information whether they're connected with lead to the main?
It'll get us, I don't know if that would be the verifiable information you can use, but it'll get you an idea whether it is, what they're saying is that lead test, if you have to let everything sit 6 hours, grab a liter sample, then 4 more samples. Sample liters 2, 3, and 4 you throw away. Number 5 then will say whether it's coming from the utility. That first sample then is basically saying if the customer has lead in the house.
Okay,
But it's yet to be decided whether that will be the information you can use to say, you know, we know that that person, yay or nay, has
right,
lead. Basically, they're saying this whole first round is just kind of get an idea of how much is out there. And then in 10 years, we want to get rid of all the lead in everybody's system.
right, right.
So I'm not sure how Westler is going to come up with that information to, you know, fill that sheet out.
I don't know, we haven't, I haven't had any other discussions beyond that because I know they're working within that realm or they have people that work within that, so.
And basically, they were saying, you know, it's good to get information out to the customer and saying, there was also even YouTube videos out there presently, how to test your pipes to see whether they're lead or not.
Okay.
So, you know, how to get that information out to the customer, because they're saying 95% of customers don't even know this is all being, you know, coming down around our necks.
Nobody ever cares.
Yeah, I hope they all care, but you don't know that.
But they were saying a lot of people not even aware of this, you know, even an issue.
I understand that, but everybody can read a newspaper who would know about Flint, Michigan, so they have to know that there
Turn
are,
the TV on.
there are issues, yes. Okay. The good thing is, in all the repairs that we have done over the last several years, as far as I know, we've not had any findings of lead. Now, then now we're all done,
When I asked that question, it's like, well, do you have paperwork that says it was not,
yeah.
you know?
I would doubt it, but I'm just saying, I feel good from the standpoint that we're not finding lead and haven't found lead. You know, Ronnie would be able to attest to that. Dave Brown could also do that in the work he did. So how much was there in the beginning? probably quite a bit. I think some of those initial fittings, and they went to nylon fittings, and then that's why we had the leaks, because the nylon fittings blew out. So that was changed again. I just don't, I don't know who's gonna give you the authority to go in somebody's house and say, we're gonna tear out your water pipes and fix them. That's,
Yeah, and to cover the cost until you get paid. I mean,
Yeah.
because it's not like they're gonna write us a check right away.
yeah.
If they do write you a check, then.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay, well, thanks. I will have other discussions with Wessler and see what the expectations are and what our requirements are here.
Maybe a day that Tom and I and you and Wessler made it sit down.
that's what I
and
was
someone
wondering, you
from
guys sit
Wessler
down
come
and so you
Sure.
know what's,
have a chat and see
Yeah.
what they're thinking and.
Right.
especially since they've been to the
I
meetings.
mean, they're planning with towns that are many, many times
Right.
larger than us,
Right.
so
Right.
the scope of Marshall won't
Yeah.
be so bad, I wouldn't think.
At the same time, I don't want to wait till the last minute and be scrambling.
No. But as we've said many times, who's worried about Chicago and New York City and
Right.
LA and
Right.
We might get an exemption for a while.
like 25 years?
Yeah. No
Who
joke.
was it that one said they couldn't do it in 40 years?
Yeah,
They could.
yeah, so.
Okay. Thank you.
That's it for me.
Okay. Anything else?
I think so, but in fact, Susan just listening and you, oh.
And we do
Enjoy
appreciate,
democracy.
we do appreciate you thinking of us. That's nice.
I took the box out of the car, I'll bring it back.
Okay. Darla?
I don't know.
Okay, we're adjourned.